Just a little credentials before I get started. And yes, trial and error was involved in this. So to avoid all of that, let me just show y'all exactly what y'all need to do to get the perfect fit, okay? So you'll need a straight ruler, you'll need a curved ruler, you'll need paper, and a measuring tape and scissors. So to begin, my shoulder to waist was 16 inches, and then my waist to knees was 21 inches. So I just added them two, and that's how long my paper needs to be. Y'all can use gift wrapping paper with the lines. That's what I love to use, but I don't have that with me, so I just have to use paper, like copy paper, just tape it all together. And if you haven't watched the other video, I think it's no, it's a horsehair video, but I will not be adding music anymore because I don't want any music issues. But anyways, these are the measurements that I'll be using, and I'm gonna see if it can like stay on the screen so you guys can follow along with me. And the paper just has to be your hips divided by 2. So my hips was 40 inches, so divide that by 2, and it's 20 inches. So the paper needs to be at least 20 inches wide, plus some, because we're gonna add seam allowance. So that's what I was doing here. Now we're just gonna fold the paper, because once you open it up, it'll be one whole piece. So just fold it. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you fold it evenly, it'll be all right. So first things first, we're going to start off with a straight line. You always want a straight starting point. If it's crooked, your whole pattern going to be crooked. So you just need to start off with a straight line. And the straight line is basically your shoulder line. So now that we have that, we're going to plot all of our vertical measurements. First, we're going to do shoulder to bust. So from the shoulder point, we're going to go down 10 inches. And we're going to do it on the other side as well, so our lines can be as straight as possible. Now we're going to make a horizontal line, because that is the line where we're going to plot our horizontal measurements. So when we do the bust divided by 4, this is where we're going to plot that measurement. Then we're just going to label it bust so we won't get confused. Now to the next vertical measurement, we're going to do bust to waist, and bust to waist was 7 inches. So from the bust line, we're going to go down 7 inches, and then we're going to mark it on the other side as well so we can make a straight line. Make that horizontal line, and this waistline is where we're going to put our waist divided by 4 measurement. And then just label it waistline or waist so we don't get confused. The next vertical measurement is waist to hips, and waist to hips was 9 inches. So from the waistline, we're going to go down 9 inches, and then we're going to mark 9 inches on the other side too to make a straight line. Now we're going to make our horizontal line, and we're going to label it hips. And our hips divided by 4, we're going to place it on this hip line. Our last vertical measurement is waist to knees, and waist to knees is 21 or 20 and a half inches. But from the waistline, we're going to go down 21 inches or 20, what is it? I think that's 20 and a half. So we're going to mark 20 and a half on both sides, and then we're going to make a straight horizontal line. I'm just labeling it knees because that's our knee line. Now at our starting line, I like to go down 3 inches down and 3 inches over, and that will be considered our neckline. I always like to start with 3 by 3. 3 inches down right here, 3 inches over right there. And then we're going to connect it with the curved ruler, and that is our neckline. We're going to plot our shoulder to shoulder. So my shoulder to shoulder was 14, which is divided by 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. So from the starting point, we're going to go over 7 inches. And since our shoulders are not super straight like that, we're going to drop it by 1 inch, because our shoulders have like a little slope. So drop that shoulder point by 1 inch. So this is our new slanted shoulder point right here. Now from that new slanted shoulder point, we're going to connect it to the 3 by 3 neckline right there. The crossed out marks, that does not matter. We're not worried about that right now. Now we're going to make our armhole line. The formula is bust divided by 6 plus 1. This is for stretchy fabric. So my bust divided by 6 plus 1, and that's 7 inches. So from that slanted or slope shoulder point, we're going to go down 7 inches, and then we're going to make a straight horizontal line. Then you're going to label it armhole line or chest line, whatever you want to name it. Now from the slope or slanted shoulder point line, you want to mark it, or you're going to connect it, make a vertical line to the armhole line, just a straight line. On this armhole line, we're just going to do our bust divided by 4. So our bust was 36 divided by 4, and then subtract 1. Not on this bust line, I don't know what I was doing right here, but on the armhole line, you're going to put that measurement right there. I'm just double checking again, 36 divided by 4 minus 1. So now we're going to place that the 8-inch mark, we're going to place it on the armhole line. It looked weird right here, so I just was doing like triple checking. On to the waistline. Our waist was 30 inches divided by 4 minus 1. Then we're just going to place that on the waistline and mark it. Now onto the hip line, 40 divided by 4 minus 1, and we just place that on the hip line. From the folded side, just go over 9 inches, and then we mark it. And then for the knee line, I just used the waist measurement, so 30 divided by 4 minus 1, and then add a half an inch, because that was like a last minute thing. I just added half an inch just to be on the safe side, so it won't be too tight. So go over 6.5 inches and then mark it. Now it's time to connect all the dots from the armhole to the waist to the hips to the knees. We're just going to connect it. Now we're going to finish the top part of our pattern. So first things first, we're going to measure our armhole. And if you remember, it was 7 inches. So we're going to divide it by 2. And then we're just going to mark the midpoint. And with the measuring tape, you just measure it and then fold the tape, and that's the half mark. Now we're going to go inward 1/2 inch. That's the half inward mark. Now we're going to connect it from our slope or slanted shoulder point. We're going to connect it to that 1/2 inch inward point. From the 1/2 inward point or 1/2 inch inward point, you can get a curved ruler to mark it towards the bust measurement that's on the armhole line, but I just like to draft it out myself or draw it out myself. But you can definitely use the curved ruler if you want to. So this is the front pattern, and I put the one line because that just represents it's the front pattern, not the back. So now we're going to do the back pattern, and it's just from that 1/2 inch mark, not the inward point, but the regular 1/2 inch mark that's on the line. We're going to mark it towards that bust point that's on the armhole measurement. So this right here is the back armhole, and that's why I drew the 2 lines, because that's considered the back armhole. Now we're just going to add the 1/2 inch seam allowance all around. It's very sharp now, but you can smooth it out right here, or you can smooth it out when you cut the fabric out. It doesn't matter. But you're going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance on the shoulders as well, because you're going to attach it to the back piece. And now you just cut it out. Again, this is the front armhole, and then this right here, that's the back armhole. We're going to cut out the back armhole first, because once we're done cutting this out, we're going to trace it on a new piece of paper, and we're going to trace this out. The new traced out pattern will be our back pattern. And once we're done tracing that out, we're going to cut out the armhole, the front armhole, to make it our front pattern. And I forgot to do the back neckline as well. You just drop it by 1 inch, or however short you want to do it. It doesn't matter. But the back neckline is usually always higher than the front neckline. So I'm just marking it right here, and this will be considered our back neckline. So we're just going to cut this out. And now we have our back bodice pattern, our back basic dress bodice pattern. That sounded so long, but that's the back pattern. But after you trace out the back, then we're going to cut it like this, and that'll be our front bodice pattern. Okay, so let's say we trace this out. Now we're going to cut out the front armhole. Matter of fact, let's fold this first. Hopefully you get what I'm saying, but right here is where you would cut it out, where you would cut it out at after you trace out the back pattern. And that will be considered the front pattern. But Yeah, now we're just going to cut out both. Now we're just cutting this out to make it the front pattern. If you want to use the pattern just as a shirt pattern, you can do just that. Just fold it back and make it a shirt pattern. Just be sure to add seam allowance at the bottom. If you want to make it a skirt pattern, you can do that as well. Just be sure to add seam allowance at the top and the bottom to hem it or to attach it to something else. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Oh, and by the way, I am sick, so I sound a little weird.